The power of silence in a world full of noise, notifications, conversations, opinions, and distractions. Silence is becoming one of the rarest, yet most powerful forces we can harness. Silence is not emptiness. It's not weakness. It's not the absence of thought, it's the amplifier of it. Silence allows us to hear what truly matters. When we stop speaking and start listening to others, to nature, to ourselves, we begin to understand on a deeper level. In silence, we discover clarity. We begin to separate what's urgent from what's important, what's loud from what's true in the rush of our daily lives, filled with endless notifications, conversations, and background noise. We often lose sight of what truly matters. Our minds become cluttered with other people's opinions, societal pressures, and our own fears. That's where silence becomes a powerful tool, not just for peace, but for clarity. When we step away from the noise and allow ourselves a moment of stillness, we give our thoughts the space they need to settle and reorganize. It's in these quiet moments that we begin to understand what we actually think and feel beyond the influence of the outside world. Silence acts like a mirror. It reflects back to us who we are, what we want, and where we're going. It forces us to face our inner truth, the one that gets drowned in distraction. Many people are afraid of silence because it exposes them to their real thoughts, the ones they've been avoiding. But that's where growth begins. Clarity doesn't come when we're surrounded by noise. It comes when we slow down, breathe, and listen to ourselves without interruption. Some of the most successful and grounded people in the world make time for silence daily through meditation, journaling, or simply sitting alone in a quiet room. They understand that silence isn't an escape, it's a tool for alignment. It helps us get back in touch with our values, our goals, and our priorities. When the mind is quiet, decisions become easier, direction becomes clearer. We stop reacting blindly to life and start moving with purpose. So if you're feeling lost or overwhelmed, try embracing silence even for just a few minutes. You may find that the answers you've been seeking were never out there. They were always within you. Listening is one of the most powerful skills a person can develop, and silence is what makes it possible. In conversations, most people are not truly listening, they're simply waiting for their turn to speak. But when we choose to remain silent and fully engage with what the other person is saying, we create space for connection, empathy, and understanding. Silence allows us to absorb the full meaning behind words, the tone, the pauses, the emotion. It gives us the ability to truly hear, not just what is being said, but what is being felt. In silence, we become better observers. We start noticing the subtle details, the hesitation in someone's voice, the pain in their eyes, the excitement in their tone. This deeper awareness allows us to respond more thoughtfully, rather than jumping to conclusions or offering shallow replies. True listening is not just about hearing someone's words, it's about making them feel seen, heard, and valued. And that only happens when we are fully present, without the urge to interrupt or control the conversation. Moreover, silence helps build trust. People are more likely to open up when they feel they're being listened to without judgment or distraction. It's in these quiet moments that relationships are strengthened, whether it's with a friend, a partner, a teammate, or even a stranger. Silence communicates something powerful, that what the other person has to say matters. And when people feel heard, they are more likely to listen in return. So the next time you're in a conversation, resist the urge to fill the silence. Let it be, let it breathe. Because in that stillness, deeper connection and greater understanding are born. And those are the foundations of all meaningful human relationships. Silence is often misunderstood as weakness, but in reality, it is one of the strongest forms of communication. It takes real strength to hold back when every part of you wants to speak. In moments of conflict or pressure, most people feel the urge to defend, explain, or retaliate. But those who are truly strong understand that silence can be more powerful than any spoken word. It shows restraint, control, and emotional maturity. Speaking quickly and loudly is easy, anyone can do that. But choosing to remain silent when emotions run high requires discipline, confidence, and wisdom. Silence creates space not just for the situation to calm down, but for our own minds to think clearly. When we respond out of anger or ego, we often say things we regret. But when we choose silence, We give ourselves time to process, to reflect, and to choose our words with intention. This doesn't mean we avoid difficult conversations. It means we approach them from a place of strength, not impulse. Think of the most respected leaders, mentors, or wise individuals you've encountered. They rarely speak without purpose. Their words carry weight because they are not constantly talking. Their silence draws attention, commands respect, and makes people listen more carefully when they do speak. That's the power of controlled silence. It doesn't scream for attention. It earns it. In relationships, in leadership, in everyday life, silence can be a tool of power. It shows that you are not easily shaken, that you don't need to prove your worth through constant words, that you are comfortable with your own presence. True strength is quiet. It doesn't beg to be noticed. It stands tall, listens deeply, and speaks only when there's something worth saying. Silence is a powerful catalyst for creativity and innovation. In the stillness, when the external noise fades and distractions are removed, the mind finally has room to wander freely. This is where ideas are born, not in chaos, but in calm. When we are constantly bombarded with information, social media, notifications, and opinions, our minds become reactive instead of reflective. We're too busy responding to the world to create something new from within. But when we intentionally step into silence, we unlock a different part of our brain, the part that imagines, visualizes, and invents. Many of history's greatest thinkers, artists, and inventors valued silence for this exact reason. They knew that solitude and quiet weren't barriers to progress, but doorways to brilliance. Whether it was Steve Jobs taking silent walks to think, Albert Einstein playing the violin in peace, or writers retreating to quiet cabins, silence wasn't just a luxury, it was a necessity. In silence, connections start to form between seemingly unrelated thoughts. New patterns emerge, problems are seen from fresh perspectives. We tap into our intuition, that quiet inner voice that gets drowned out by everyday noise. Even daydreaming, which often happens in silence, can lead to breakthroughs that structured thinking can't reach. In the modern world, we often chase productivity, but forget that creativity doesn't thrive under constant pressure. It needs space. It needs silence. When we allow ourselves moments of quiet, even just 10 or 15 minutes a day, we give our mind permission to explore. And in that exploration, we find not only solutions but inspiration. So if you're looking for your next big idea or feeling stuck, don't push harder. Instead, pause, embrace the silence, because in that quiet space, innovation begins to speak. Silence is one of the most effective ways to regain control in stressful or emotionally charged situations. When tensions rise, whether it's during an argument, a high-pressure decision, or a moment of personal crisis, the natural reaction for many people is to speak quickly, defend themselves, or act impulsively. But this often leads to more conflict, poor choices, and emotional regret. In contrast, silence offers a pause, a moment to breathe, and an opportunity to reset. It puts us back in control, not just of the situation, but of ourselves. When you choose silence over immediate reaction, you're not surrendering, you're taking power back, you're choosing to observe rather than explode, to think rather than be triggered. That brief silence gives you a chance to assess your emotions, understand the dynamics at play, and decide how to respond in a way that serves your long-term goals, not your short-term ego. It's the difference between reacting out of emotion and responding with intention. In leadership, silence can be especially powerful. A leader who remains calm and composed under pressure earns respect. They don't speak just to fill space or appear dominant. They speak when it matters, and that makes every word count. Silence shows that you're not desperate to control others. You're in control of yourself. Even in everyday life, practicing silence during moments of anger or frustration can prevent misunderstandings and unnecessary pain. It allows space for clarity and often solutions that wouldn't emerge in the heat of the moment. So next time you feel overwhelmed or provoked, try choosing silence, not as an escape but as a strategy. Because in that stillness you hold the power to redirect the situation, and more importantly, to remain the master of your emotions. That is true control. In a fast-paced world that thrives on multitasking and constant stimulation, silence has the remarkable ability to bring us back to the present moment. When we pause and embrace silence, we slow down time, at least in how we experience it. We become more aware of our surroundings, our breath, our thoughts, and our emotions. It's in this state of heightened awareness that we reconnect with what it means to truly live not just exist on autopilot. Silence anchors us. It pulls us out of the noise of the past and the worry of the future, bringing us into the now, where life is actually happening. When we sit in silence, whether it's during a walk in nature, a quiet morning routine, or a moment of stillness before bed, we begin to notice the little things, the sound of the wind, the rhythm of our heartbeat, the tension we've been holding in our shoulders. These small observations build a deeper connection between mind and body, thought and feeling. Mindfulness begins in silence. It helps us to appreciate the present for what it is, rather than rushing to the next task, the next goal, or the next distraction. And in that presence we often find gratitude for the simple things we usually overlook: a quiet room, a warm cup of tea, the breath in our lungs. Living in the present is not always easy, but silence makes it possible. It reminds us that peace isn't something we chase. It's something we choose, and often it's found in the moments when we stop chasing and simply listen to the quiet. So instead of filling every moment with sound and activity, allow yourself to be still. Let silence do its work. It will guide you back to the here and now, the only place life truly exists.